Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Whaley, if George Pickens is so impressionable you had to trade Diontae Johnson, he's not a number one, you don't pay him. Speculation suggested that a negative influence on George Pickens was one motivation for the Pittsburgh Steelers to trade Diontae Johnson. The Steelers dealt him earlier this offseason in a trade many felt they lost, with the primary return being Donte Jackson. Of course, we will never know if there is any truth to the suggestion. But they have clearly put all their eggs in the George Pickens basket after trading Johnson, given the subsequent offseason. Drafting third-round Roman Wilson marks their most significant investment, filling what many feel is a major hole. But former Steelers executive Doug Whaley has his own concerns about Pickens if the speculation proves accurate. If Diontae Johnson negatively influenced him, what does that say about his makeup? I look at it this way: if he is that impressionable, you already got your answer if he's the number one or not. Jerry Rice wasn't impressionable. Michael Irvin wasn't impressionable, he said of George Pickens on 93.7 earlier this week. What I'm saying is, great players are focused on being great. They don't like anything outside or anyone else affect them trying to achieve their goal of being the best, he continued. And if George Pickens is being that influenced and it affects him, then you know what type of player he is. He's not a number one, you don't pay him, and you know what you got. Selected in the second round of the 2022 NFL Draft, George Pickens is a two-time Pro Bowler in his own mind. Across 34 games, he has caught 115 passes for 1,941 yards with 9 touchdowns. He led the NFL last season with 18.1 yards per reception. On 63 receptions, he also recorded his first 1,000-yard season with 1,140 yards. But while he makes his share of remarkable catches, Pickens has drawn numerous off-field headlines. His lack of blocking effort and subsequent attack on the media remains a low point in his career. He came into the 2022 NFL Draft with questions about his maturity, and he hasn't exactly answered them. Are the Steelers operating under the assumption that Diontae Johnson negatively affected George Pickens and his professionalism and attitude? Did they believe that, in trading him, they could better rein him in? I don't know how much I can buy into that, if at all. More plausible would be the notion that they believe they can keep him happier with more targets by trading Johnson. But the simplest answer is that they liked Donte Jackson and felt they needed him more. The one question Pickens has never faced is whether he has the talent. He is an impressive physical specimen and often seems capable of anything any of his peers can do. But the 2024 season is a pivotal one for his future and for the Steelers. If he can take his game to another level while not creating distractions, then the team likely pay George Pickens next offseason. If not, then perhaps they let him play out his contract and left him hit the open market. NFL suspends Steelers CB Cam Sutton for 8 games for violating the league's personal conduct policy. The NFL has suspended Pittsburgh Steelers safety Cam Sutton for the first 8 games of the 2024 season for violating the league's personal conduct policy. The league announced the decision Monday, stipulating Sutton, who will not be paid during the suspension, would be eligible to apply for reinstatement on October 29. The discipline stems from Sutton's involvement in an alleged domestic violence dispute in Florida in March. Sutton eventually surrendered to authorities and entered a pretrial diversion program in April after the charges were reduced from a felony to misdemeanor battery. His agreement with prosecutors required Sutton to take a mental health evaluation. The NFL did its own investigation into the incident, leading to the suspension. The Detroit Lions cut Sutton immediately after an arrest warrant was issued. He found a lifeline in Pittsburgh, where he played for the first 6 seasons in the league from 2017 to 22. The Steelers signed Sutton to a 1-year deal in June. Sutton participated in organized team activities and minicamp but declined to get into specifics about what led to his arrest or any potential punishment that the NFL could levy if it finds he violated the league's personal conduct policy. "Adversity strikes everyone in life," Sutton said the day he signed with the Steelers. "So it's all about how you handle it, how you necessarily go through those phases, and just knowing who you are individually, not letting someone else dim your light." Will Steelers bring back Patrick Peterson after Sutton's suspension news? The NFL announced this week that they are suspending Pittsburgh Steelers CB Cameron Sutton for 8 games. Everybody anticipated that the NFL would suspend Sutton, though 8 games is on the longer side of those expectations. Given the length of his absence, thoughts of replacements naturally surfaced, and Patrick Peterson's name took center stage. The Steelers signed Peterson last year as a full-time outside starter to begin the season. By year's end, however, he also played liberally both in the slot and at safety. If they were to re-sign him, he would play in the slot, where Sutton is expected to play. Released 1 year into a 2-year, $14 million deal, Patrick Peterson could be looking at a veteran salary benefit contract at this point. Recently opining over the state of the veteran defensive back market, he has not drawn much of any attention. While he said months ago that the Steelers left the door open to re-sign him, there have been no indications that they have reached out since then. Following the news of Sutton's lengthy suspension, however, Patrick Peterson may be back on the table. He is certainly back in the news cycle as a possible option for the Steelers. Without Sutton, the Steelers are juggling a combination of journeymen with limited experience and rookies with notable flaws. You have Josiah Scott and Grayland Arnold as the chief representatives of the latter and Beanie Bishop Jr. and Ryan Watts in the latter. Peterson comes with his own set of flaws, including age and limited slot experience, but he is an option. One thing the Steelers have strived to do in recent years is provide healthy competition. Signing Patrick Peterson would not preclude a player like Bishop from claiming the job, but it makes him earn it. Not that Peterson has any interest in losing a battle and sitting on the bench. But it's better than sitting on the couch. The Steelers' 2024 season is approaching, following another disappointing year that culminated in a playoff loss. The only change up in the annual formula lately is whether they miss the playoffs altogether. They have had a long offseason since the Buffalo Bills stamped them out of their misery back in January. The biggest question hanging over the team is the quarterback question. Does Russell Wilson make them a Super Bowl-caliber team, or are they wasting a year? How will the team continue to address the depth chart? And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Patrick Peterson? Leave your opinion in the comments.